Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to share with you my thoughts in response to a salty comment about how Riftwatcher packs are overpriced. It's more than that, but that's at the core of the accusation. Really, that Riftwatchers and Splinterlands, the team, misstepped with how it was released based on how many packs were created, how the pricing worked, the aims of it, and there's a lot of critical complaining in the comment to follow. But I want to be clear, I appreciate the feedback even though I disagree, and I'm going to try and respectfully respond because I think there's great value in ideas that with people sharing their ideas, particularly when they don't agree, and because I know that other people in the community feel similarly. He wasn't the only one to raise this same or similar type of feedback, that the Riftwatcher packs are too expensive, and that was a major mistake. So let's discuss that and debate that today. And if that sounds interesting, stick around and stay tuned. My name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258. You can call me 12. And leave your comments below. If your comment turns into a video like this one, you will get a raffle ticket for potentially to earn a free plot of land. Let's get into it. So, here it is. Paulo Macales, I'm going to say. So he's responding to the upcoming proposal and my thoughts around the renewed proposal to sell Riftwatcher packs for DEC. And he says, look, it's not about DEC, it's about the price point. He goes, the packs don't sell because they are expensive, like many others stated. The team valued the Riftwatcher collection at $15 million, 3 million packs, $5 each, which is an atrocious evaluation. I don't really understand how they ever thought that was a good idea. I got to skip over some of this because this is an essay. So, I mean, I just want to suffice it to say, these things were planned and crafted at a different moment. And I think it's so easy with hindsight to look back and be like, oh, that was a bad evaluation. I think that is to discount and to deny the complexity of the economy, like, I mean, the broader economy outside of Splinterlands, and not recognizing, you know, bear markets and how bad it can get, etc. So the value is so high that it is higher than half of the current SPS market at 27 to 30 million USD. It's even actually more than the entirety of liquid SPS at 12 to 14 million USD. And almost a staggering half of the SPS plus DEC market caps combined, which are two main currencies of the game. The only reason it's even still sells are a few people are trying to accumulate packs for the airdrops and trying to sell them at a break even or small profit, which takes forever to sell because there's not much interest. Any other sane person would just buy them from the market, the Hive engine market, for a little cheaper. Okay, there's stuff in there I want to respond to. So, but first and foremost, this issue of the value is so high. If we're going to sell it for 15 million, and if we imagine, you know, how much US dollar value that would be, of course, it would be a large US dollar value, especially, well, hang on a second. If we're trying to understand 15 million, 3 million packs, $5 per pack, paid in SPS, the number of SPS that get gobbled up by that transaction or by those transactions is obviously greater the more that the SPS falls. And so, you know, I can't remember where we were at from an SPS price standpoint when Riftwatchers launched, but we can and we should figure that out right now. When I'm going to quickly see this. When did Riftwatchers launch? Let's see if that works. Okay, this looks like it's going to work. Looks like September 2022, based on Play to Earn, their website. And I've trusted them in the past. I think that's probably accurate. So September 15th, 2022. So that's the first piece of information I want in responding to this comment. And so then we need to go to Livecoin. We want to look up SPS. And we want to see what price SPS was at that point. Go year. September. So here we go. September 15th, 2022. We were at almost 9 cent SPS. That's a gigantic difference from 2.5 cents today. And so when the commenter says that the amount of SPS when you speak about how many units of SPS there are and how many would be gobbled up by the purchase, by the potential sale of all the Riftwatcher packs, you have to acknowledge that there's a gigantic gulf between the reality of September 2022 and April 2023. And if we say the price is depreciated on SPS, it's nearly 75% or something like that, right? From 9 cents to 2.5. It's a dramatic drop off. And so the number of units of SPS required to buy those packs has dramatically changed, to the point where you might retroactively say it doesn't make a lot of sense that they're priced so highly because there isn't enough SPS. But remember also, SPS is also always growing, and there are bull and bear cycles. I think sometimes, and maybe we'll revisit this comment that I'm about to make as we read more of his comment, but I think often what happens is when people are being critical, there's a lot of hindsight bias. I mean, you've got 2020 hindsight because you're here in the present looking back at the past, but in the moment of September 2022, when these things were released, there's a total, how do we know it's going to go down 2 cents? Well, you might say, well, they should have known. I knew, you might say. And I just feel, I don't buy it. There's so many people who say, I knew it was going to do X, Y, and Z. And yet here we are on the outsides, like looking in, and we didn't take advantage of it. So did we know if it, was it so predictable if currently we are not rich? Do you see what I mean? Because if it was so obvious and predictable that this scenario was going to play out as it did, it would have made a lot of sense to short SPS or to sell then and buy now. And I feel that's not what most people did. And so it just doesn't ring so obviously true that, I saw this coming. We all saw this coming. Did we? Because I don't see a lot of people telling the tale of how they sold all their SPS and they're buying back now. That's not what I'm seeing. That's not the story I'm noticing. It's not common, which means that even though the writer wants to imply that it would have been so obvious for the developers to recognize that the price valuation at 15 million, $5 a pack paid in SPS was not logical, that's coming from the hindsight bias. That's coming from the current analysis based on today and looking back at it. And there's one more point I wanted to say in here. This comment in here about the quality of the Riftwatcher cards, where was it? The only reason any of them are even selling is that a few people are trying to accumulate packs so they can get airdrops and then try to sell them at break even or profit. So regardless of why people buy them, people buy them. And this is an effort to discount the number of sales that have been happening. And I want to say right now, there is very few Riftwatcher sales happening from the marketplace, from the Splinterlands marketplace. So I get your point. There's almost none selling. I agree. But then you want to say, and of those selling, there's practically nobody really likes the cards, is what you're implying. You're saying they just want to buy it so that they can resell it. I mean, I don't know, man. There's a lot of people holding Riftwatcher cards and they're winning in ranked battles. And I've looked at the cards thoroughly with, I think, an eye for the quality and the caliber and the utility. And I mean, in my opinion, this is a strong pack. Now, you can be right about what you're saying. You can be right in practice about the lack of sales and wrong about why there's a lack of sales. Because, like, for instance, you might argue that the cards suck and no one wants them. And that's why they're not selling. I would argue that the cards are great, but no one can afford them because it's a bear market, because SPS is the sole purchasing component. And even though some people have levied in the community, they say, $5 is $5. Just sell your SPS, buy the pack if you want the pack, and then buy another $5 worth of SPS. People don't operate that way, and more than that, it's actually hard to move into crypto with significant fiat currency, and therefore once you get SPS, people are reluctant to release it. And that's why, in part, I support the idea of offering DEC. But we might have to revisit that comment later in the question or the comment here. Just want to point out, I feel strongly that Riftwatchers is an amazing deck. And I think some of the cards in there are exceptional. Of course, some of them are mediocre, but most of them are good to exceptional. And I think history will prove that to be so. There will be a strong demand for these cards. And if we don't sell them all and we end up burning them, which I think he later talks about, then we're going to see even higher price points on these cards that you seem to think are, you know, really not that valuable, not that powerful, not that meaningful. Okay. In order to sell the rest of the collection, 2 million packs at 10 million US, almost all of the current liquid SPS would have to be used. In some sense, that's a problem, and that's why we want to look to the DC. It's not that hard to understand why the number of packs sold doesn't go up. They are way overpriced, overprinted. Too much print for the higher than ever cost. It was $2 a pack, and then the print amount would be still be fine. Still $6 million US valuation, in my opinion, would have been too high. So he's saying even if they were $2 packs, that would have been too high. Not $5. But you can't have both, the best of both worlds, and you can't print high number of packs and then charge a premium for the value. I mean, this is true. Again, I'm with you in some of what you're saying here, Paulo. Like, you're right. You can't charge really high prices and make too many packs. But like the first criticisms you're levying, aren't we just looking back at the past and being like, you know, it didn't work out. They didn't all sell right away. Therefore, with hindsight, I can say to you, you made too many packs. I don't believe that. And remember, we'd said that the packs were released, or, you know, the sales began in September of 2022. They weren't, that pack and those sets weren't planned in September 2022, right? They took, there was a lot of planning that went into making Rift Watchers. You got to think I'm thinking at least we're talking June, July, May, something like, you know, it could have been a full year potentially that those things are being worked on. And even if it's 6 months and we go, where does that put us? 9. So we're talking about like maybe March. We're like a 13-cent SPS. And that's right? Like I'm speculating 6 months prior to the release of Rift Watchers, maybe the planning and in the card design, etc., starts getting worked out, the economy, how many packs, what's the price point. And, you know, again, I think in this moment, if we went back and if we could look back at the data of how many accounts were playing the game, I think it was closer to 400,000 back then. Now it's closer to 200,000. And you argue many of those were bots. Okay, fine, but still there's a lot of accounts. Some of that, some of the criticism, the concern being levied is just, you know, I think it's important to recognize, hindsight, looking back, it's so easy to say that, you know, we got it wrong, but, you know, I think the team has done what they can and are doing what they can to handle the curveballs as they come, including with Chaos Legion burning, I think 2-3 million packs. I think it was 2 million, and 1 million setting aside for different things like the reward chest, and also setting aside some for Nifty Arcade to utilize. You know, we could do something like that too. It's not just burn or sell, as you seem to be alluding to. Like, you know, we got to sell them all for $10 million, or, you know, we've got to burn them. I think we could look what we did with Nifty, and we could do the same thing in creating new incentives for new players to get plugged in. And that seems to be being a successful outlet for, you know, the value of assets to be utilized. That's one way that new people are getting plugged in even now through Chaos Legion, what happened with Nifty Arcade. And I think it's not necessarily so far anyways, being something you're kind of raising. Almost all the current SPS would have to be spent. You feel $2 might have been better, but still might have been too much. Let's see. Sure, it goes into the DAO, but 90% plus of the player base doesn't care where it goes. They just care that it leaves their wallet. This is a fair point. You know, whether it goes into the DAO or not, it's still money out of your pocket, and people are concerned about that. But people who are here for the long haul are wise to recognize value into the DAO is not going to hurt you as an investor in this space. It's going to help you, even if you're a relatively small player. It's going to help you because it's a bit of a war chest. So let's not ignore that fact. The only reason Chaos Legion packs sold so much and are still 17% burned were because DEC lost peg quite hard and packs were sold at 50% discount for a while. You're pointing this out like it was like, oops, how did that happen? But the team considers this like a by design. Like when DEC drops below peg, they've done this ever since Untamed, where they honor the peg value with the pack of cards. So, and that's like a loss to them personally, the entity, the company. But I mean, it's not an accident. It's not like an oops, like, oh man, how do we miss that? It's literally by design. And that's why they want to sell the they want to sell the Riftwatcher packs for DEC, because they actually want to allow an opportunity for people to spend DEC at that below peg value to get rid of more DEC, to drive the sale of the packs and the balance, the driving of DEC back to peg, and therefore the flywheel with SPS. I think you maybe get that. I just think you're being maybe particularly critical of the economy and the planning. I don't want to spend too much more time, even though there is 3 more full paragraphs. Let's see if I can read quickly, and then I'm going to try and respond to 2 things, even if there's 5 I want to get at. And with staking, liquidity pools, etc., it's probably the worst value you can get for your SPS by far. In my opinion, it makes no sense for anyone to buy those packs directly from the store unless you can whale in and buy 2,400 and you have time to very slowly sell the packs. 575 also works for me, but for break even, not really to profit too much. So he's saying taking advantage of the bonuses by buying bulk. And to be honest, good luck fighting bots to sell them, both cards and packs. I've been there in a battle, and I can't even imagine how painful it would be for someone to who doesn't have the knowledge to automate bots. Those transactions, it's pretty much an impossible mission unless you undercut yourself by selling a loss or get extremely lucky in the opening. I'm going to say one thing on this paragraph, and then we'll carry on. It is challenging to sell your assets in Splinterlands, especially if you have a massive portfolio. It's difficult to sell it, but it's not impossible. I have a friend who recently just decided he was done with Splinterlands, and one of the beautiful things about Splinterlands is that you can sell your assets for real world currency, and he did. It was thousands of dollars, and he liquidated within 5 days. And that's using the marketplace and just pricing things, all of it priced at, like, you know, ask prices, and low bid pricing. So I mean, it's not as impossible as you're alluding to. And I would argue that if someone truly believes, as Paulo is outlining here, that it's just so impossible, so difficult, it's really only, you know, profitable and opportunity. There's only opportunity for somebody who can buy 2,400 packs. If that's your view, then Splinterlands is not for you. But I think you're wrong about that view. At least my vision for what this is, it pushes against the critique you're raising here. And I don't accept the suggestion that one needs to take advantage at 2,400 packs or there's nothing to be gained. There's utility of cards. There's the price appreciation on the cards, because they will appreciate whether they get burnt. Some packs get burnt or every pack gets sold. There's SPS you're earning from playing, rewards you're earning, soulbound cards, and those will have value one day. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I mean, the argument seems to be that they offer no value. There's no usefulness. There's no utility. They're way overpriced and nobody wants them. And I just think you're being, I don't know, I think you're getting carried away. And then there's last paragraph here. A $15 million USD evaluation on their product is way too much. And to be honest, I don't believe much will change if they sell for DEC. And even if I support it, sure, it'll help move a little faster, but it still won't be enough to sell the rest of the packs unless DEC depegs harder, which is counterintuitive to making another sync mechanism because they simply overpriced and a very bad bang for the buck. See, that's an interesting point. I mean, because I don't necessarily disagree with, he raised it over here too, like the idea that there's other things you could do. And so I'm trying to be fair, Paulo, like with everything I'm pushing back on a lot of the things you're raising, but I am seeing, like, it's not like I totally discount what your arguments are. I'm trying not to speak for 5 hours. I'm trying to like give you like my most important feedback on these ideas. But you talk about how there's other things that are more bang for your buck. If you're going to buy 2,400 packs of Riftwatchers, you might see a financial opportunity there. But you're saying, like, I could do other things with 10 grand. And I get that. You know, I totally get that. But the question is, do you like the game? Do you believe in its future? Do you think Riftwatchers has great utility in this game? If the answer to those 3 questions is yes, then you know, you kind of throw away this whole argument. But if you're looking for short-term profitability and you don't really know if Splinterlands is going to be here in a long play, you don't even like playing the game, then that changes the whole dynamic and it's almost more of an investment perspective. And then I could see what you mean when you talk about bang for buck and, you know, looking for other opportunities. And I do agree that if DEC, the one way, I do agree with this idea that Riftwatchers will not likely just start flowing off the shelves. It's not as if we sell it for DEC and suddenly they're all selling, they're all gone instantly. No, I don't think that. But if he's right, if DEC depegs, it falls further from peg, then there's that opportunity that he mentioned earlier and that I mentioned earlier with Untamed and that we ultimately gave with Chaos Legion with when there's that deep peg, there's like a discount on, you buy the DEC and you use it to at peg value with Splinterlands to get the pack. And that would drive sales, but we don't want that. And I don't think that's going to happen. Not from, I think DEC probably, who knows? Does it go up? Does it go down tomorrow? I don't know. But I'm going to say that if we sell Riftwatcher packs for DEC, we will move more units. And if that's 100,000 packs, which I think is very conservatively reasonable, I think you're talking about 100,000 times 5,000 DEC per, and those are getting burnt. Those DEC are burnt. So like, you know, there doesn't seem to be any sort of acknowledgement to the potential for you. It's as if you're saying, if the solutions aren't perfect, then there's no reason to even try and aim at good. And it's like, there's an old saying, like, don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. You know, if we sold 100,000 Chaos Legion, Riftwatcher packs for 5,000 DEC each, we would be deleting a sizable amount of DEC that would be pushing us closer to peg. And you kind of asked, like, what if it depegged? I can't even imagine how deleting DEC would encourage a reduction in the DEC price. That doesn't make any sense to me. But that's not saying I'm therefore guaranteeing DC will go up or closer to peg, because there's other factors. But it's just like, to me, it's like, this could be an outlet for deleting some DEC. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? This could sell some packs that otherwise might never be sold. And I think you would agree they might end up being burned. If we don't get creative with how we handle Rift Watchers, now that there are 3 million packs, and maybe you're right, there should have been less. Maybe you're right, they should have been priced differently. Here we are in 2023, and they weren't priced differently. They're priced $5 a pop, SPS only. And it hasn't fully worked out the way that I think they wanted, expected, or we, even wanted. Let's not be so fixated on how it ought to have been perceived differently from the start, and let's recognize where we are today and then just act accordingly. And so I think, I don't see in here any sort of critique or criticism as to why pricing them in DEC today would be problematic. I just hear critique about the fact that they should have been priced differently at the outset. And looking back, it's 2022. Man, that's a lifetime ago, dude. Like I said, depending on when this pack was planned at Rift Watchers, we might be talking about a 13-cent SPS based on when they probably were drawing the cards and planning the abilities and stats, etc., to a 9-cent SPS when it was released. It's such a world apart from the 2.5 it is today. So I just think here we are. We might be given, based on Matt's proposal that's, I guess, yet to launch, we can expect to hear something of probably around a peg value Rift Watcher, 5,000 DEC for a Rift Watcher pack. I personally would love to get a few more Rift Watcher packs. I disagree with you that those cards are non-desirable and that the only reason to hold them is to try and flip them. I think they're great cards, and I think they'll hold great value in the future, especially if ultimately some of these get deleted. And I think we probably both agree they will. But in the meantime, can we do different things that help push the needle on this game and the economy? Like by deleting DEC? Yes, we can. Some packs will sell for DEC if we open it for DEC. Maybe it isn't a huge amount. But even currently at DEC price points, you're looking at a slight, peg opportunity, right? Like DEC is currently priced at 846 Splintoshis, which would be like a 20% differential if you were to buy DC and then to buy the packs under an assumption that it's every pack will be priced at 5,000. So you're going to get like a 15-20% reduction on those packs. Yeah, that potentially is going to, it's not going to mean every pack sells. I don't think that's so, but it's going to help. And don't we want to get rid of the DC? I think we do. So let's not make the enemy of let's aim at better. Let's stop striving for perfect. Perfect would be awesome, but let's not we can't even be perfect, so therefore let's never try. Like that's like it feels defeatist. And so Paulo, thank you very much for the comment. Lots of stuff in there. And I appreciate you giving that, because it's, to me, it's there was at least 5 other comments about how the prices of the packs were way too high, and and how the DEC thing is not going to really work. And so there's your criticism is actually part of the, like it's probably more prominent within the community than my outlook of, hey guys, can we just be patient with this, and can we support the DEC for reasons I think I outlined in this video. So I'm hopeful that this will be helpful to you, Paulo, but also to others. And just thank you very much. And you will get an opportunity to win a free plot of land. At the very least, I hope that's something you appreciate. And just thank you so much. And everybody out there, have an amazing day. God bless.